Hey guys, Brian Hill with The Complete Combatant. I wanted to bring to you a new product that we're offering. We call it the Image Based Decisional Drills. And this is a new product from our company that my wife has come up with. And it allows you to practice solo, by yourself, things that you can only practice before on a force-on-force environment. This package includes cards that elicit a particular response from you, the tools that you need in self-defense, and some clear directions to allow you to work through it. It's a very interesting idea that you could practice this on a daily or a couple times a week, your decisional tree. It is skill-based. You're going to have to be able to use your tools skillfully, but you're going to be cycling through them very quickly, and you're going to think about parameters of scenarios where one tool is very effective and one's not, and how to move from one to the other. And you're going to use visual cueing to change quickly through that. Some of the things that we face in our practice is that decision making is very difficult. I can try practice with my firearm constantly and get very good at that, but am I visualizing what caused me to draw that firearm? That's what the key thing is here. So first thing we want to think about is pre-need decision making. How do I make a decision in advance that will allow me to pare down the decisional tree and be quicker about my decisions? That's what I really want to work on. So pre-need decision making, decisions made in advance are always better than decisions made during the event. So that's a big advantage on this. You start making, if this happens, I'll make this decision. That's a wonderful thing for you guys to have in advance already. It pares down the decisional time. Next thing I want to think about is divided attention. Many of us think that we are multitaskers. Like right now I'm doing two things. It means I'm trying to talk. Part of my brain's occupied with that. The other part is trying to read my notes. So my full attention is on neither, which means that I will miss some details. I'll make some mistakes, or I may stutter over my words as I do that. If I were to do three things at one time, then one of those things is simply replaced in my brain and I can't do it at all. So I'm really only doing two things still. So what we want to do is be a serial processor. We want to move to what's most important constantly. We want to keep our attention on what's going to render us the best results. Part of the decisional drills will really help you with that. Want to understand what threat cues are. Okay? The one place we always want to look for threat cues is in the hands. Learning to watch the hands is really important. There's a great book called The Quiet Eye, and how a professional's eyes work much different than a person that has very little experience. You learn to watch what is important. And one of the things that's important in self-defense is the hands. But it's very difficult to keep your eyes on the hands. We tend to look at people in the eyes. We tend to look around in our environment. So we're constantly taking our eyes off of it. But we need to watch the threat cues. The other thing is some pre-assault indicators. Okay? Are they grooming? Have they clenched their fist? Are they shifting their weight to you? One that Chuck Haggard talks about is conspicuously ignoring your directions. Okay? Like the kid that can't hear you. There's a reason they're not listening to you at that point. All right? Those things all lead to indication of attack about to come. Hands dipping in the waistline. These are threat indicators. Next thing is we want to think about suspicious patterns of conduct. Okay? Putting those indicators together. Somebody who's got their hands behind their back and they're not paying attention to you, and they're glancing around and they're shifting their weight for you becomes a very suspicious pattern of conduct. Something you'll see on these cards is it will give you an indicator of suspicious pattern of conduct, and then you can use a schema, the lens in your mind, to quickly and rapidly identify that as wrong or right, or a threat to you or a non-threat to you, and you can take quick action against it. We've got to train the eyes to see what's important. In shooting, we always say keep an eye on the front sight, okay, or in the red dot, in my case. Okay, you can't look at the front sight, the target, and the rear sight and see all three clearly. So we have to train the eye to do one thing at a time. It'll be somewhat blind to everything else. So the eye needs to be on what's important. We need to be looking at each thing as quickly as we can and quickly making a decision if it's important or not to us and if it's a threat or not to us. Human beings have reaction time, action time, and response time. I'm a graduate from the Force Science Institute. I'm one of the Force Science analysts. This is something they go over quite a bit. We need to take into factor all three of these things. All right? Reaction is, most people it takes a quarter of a second for you to react to a stimulus. Some people are a little faster than that. We do a drill at the complete combatant on the live fire range of how quickly you can react to the buzzer. And I have people that are down in the low teens of reaction time, but they know the stimulus is coming and they're set for it, and they only have one thing to think about. There's a clue. We want to have the same thing in our drills. So the more we can pare down things to just the streamlined methodology of reacting to it, the better we'll be. Now, here's the key. If you're not paying attention, your reaction time can become much longer, okay? 4 to 6 times longer. If you're not paying attention in your car and then something jumps in front of you, your reaction time is much longer. Same thing for self-defense. If we're not ready, we're really adding a lot of reaction time, which is a great thing for us to help. Claude and I watched in one of the classes that we were teaching is that a lot of people are not ready even when we tell them to be ready. All right, shooter, are you ready? Stand by. And then they're going to hear the beep and they have to shoot, but there's a process going on, like when they hear the beep, then they'll start to get ready and then they'll start to make the movement. That takes a long, long time. So we want to get rid of that, and that's part of what practice is for. The final category is what we call response time, okay? If you put reaction together with action, how long does it take me to draw my pistol? For me, actual drawing time is about a 0.7, okay? Aiming time is a 0.25 on that, or 0.2. So most of the time, under the perfect circumstances, I have a 1 second draw. Under stress, I have a 1-2 draw. Put me in competition, and imagine if it was I wasn't ready or prepared, how much longer that draw would be. So now I know that it takes me this long to react to something, this long to perform it, and that becomes my response time, which is really important to know. I don't think people talk about that enough, what your actual response time is. We know that for certain things like deploying pepper spray, using a firearm, running away, you need to be prepared in the first 2 seconds to do that. The whole course of the self-defense thing may only last 7 to 10 seconds. So we've got to budget our time well, and these drills will help you do that better. We need to recognize which tactics or strategy and tool is correct for the situation. There's a big difference between those. We teach a lot of techniques. Use this, do that. This will work for you. You can use a palm strike, but they tend to be very limited in their scope. We use tactics, which is a combination thing. How would I enter a door? All right. As I go to exit, would I look from near to far? Very important stuff for us to do, but those are tactics. And the strategy is I'm going to put all these things together and make a plan to work on it. This is more a strategic drilling than it is a technical drilling. Bit of tactics, but more strategy overall. Okay? And then tools. Tools don't make you safe if you can't use them well. All right? You have to practice with your firearm. You have to understand how to apply pepper spray, and you need to have a sprayed and inert unit, one which is included in the decisional drill kit. So you get a practice of looking and seeing what it's like to do this. And then your mind has a file, and it can go back to that and pull information out of it. If you've never really done any of this, it's very hard to do that. We have a lot of skills to practice. Verbal agility is one of the hardest ones. Talking is very difficult for people when they're engaged with tools. They just don't do it very well. And your verbal agility, your verbal loop, needs to be unconsciously competent, so it's not pulling a lot of attention away from watching the hands or moving your feet or drawing a firearm or getting to the pepper spray or accessing your flashlight. So we need to make sure that as we work through this, that we understand how to talk to the other person. We need to understand the ask, the tell, and the make paradigm. What are we going to say? One of my favorites is what William April says. No, sir, I'm sorry, I can't. It's a non-offensive way to address somebody. All right, and then if he doesn't recognize my boundaries, I said, get away from me. All right, we want to be able to enforce our boundaries. And then if he doesn't listen, we have to make them. We have to get our command presence. We have to raise our voice and be able to do that. It really takes a lot of skill. It's the hardest thing in force training that I have to do with people is to get them to speak. Very, very difficult. It seems simple. How do we draw and deploy the tools? Okay, how long does it take to do that? How easy is it for me to get to my flashlight and get it in a position where I could actually use it and get in the habit of doing that? Same thing with my pepper spray. Same thing with my firearm. Okay, same thing with my phone. The phone needs to be practiced. 911 needs to be practiced. So, giving you a lot of chances to practice with these tools. Distancing is a big part of this too. How do I control distance? Aggressive people tend to creep towards the person. They always want to get closer. All right, I'm a little aggressive myself, and I keep creeping into the camera here. I want to get a little closer. I really want to talk to you. I want to move up. Like that lens is going to help me see you. That's the aggressive nature. And then some people lean away from things. But what we want to do is get in the habit of distancing to effect, using the J step, moving out of line, being able to see if there's something besides us or behind us, getting off to the right or left instead of front to back. So you can practice distancing during this drill. And the final is being decisive. When you decide it's time to go, you have to be explosive. You can't wait. If I've made a decision, I'm going to react as quickly as I can, and I'm going to train that over and over again. And that needs lots of repetition, so the myelination of that movement becomes yours, and you become very explosive, but also it becomes unconsciously competent. All right? A lot of gunfight survivors say, the gun just appeared in my hand because they'd been practicing. And that was unconsciously competent, so they're able to access it almost immediately. Really important in this, this will give you a chance to do some self-evaluation. How did I react to this? What were my strong points? What were my weak points? Be really good to do that on an ongoing basis, because you're going to recognize some things you're really good at and some things you're not. What tends to happen for personal protection enthusiasts like ourselves is we go to things we're really good at. If you're a pretty good shooter, you like to shoot a lot. If you like to do martial arts and jiu-jitsu, you tend to train a lot in that. And then that becomes our sole focus. So the other things are very, very weak in comparison. It's interesting for me to take, amateur fighters and just throw a knife on the mat, how it changes their ability to fight, because it does change everything. So we need to be able to quickly cycle and be able to evaluate ourselves. How did I do? What do I need to improve on? And engaging in this audit should be emotionless. You should just say, this was well done, I need to improve that. And then as you work through the cards, you each time try to improve it just a little bit. Imagine every time you made a 1% improvement, so after 20 or 30 practices, you would have made a big improvement. And it never works quite that way. It's more 0.1 or 0.01 to make an improvement. So repetition is the real key to it, doing it over and over again, and then evaluating your ability afterwards. This will create a self-image for you. I'm able to do these motions. I'm able to talk to the person. I'm able to recognize danger. We want our self-image to be very strong in this area so that we will react to it. We get the intuitive signal of danger, and it says something's wrong, pay attention, and then we need to have the file set so we can pull them out and be ready to go. Visualization is the most important part of training. Having a card with a visual image and then actually turning it into a visualized scenario in your head would really benefit you. Then you can modulate the way that you're training. You could change the light. You could change the environment you're in. You could change the number of attackers. All right? You could change the laws around you that control how many tools or weapons that you have available. So maybe you're in a non-permissive environment. You're at the airport. You're at court. You can't have a firearm. How would you react to this situation differently? So there can be a lot of improvising with this. What if you're underage? You're not allowed to carry a pistol right now. How does this work for a 16-year-old? All these things can be good because you still have to make a decision. You can't just say, I'm only going to do this. All right, there are going to be times in your life where you simply have to make a different decision, and it's really useful for that. So I hope you guys will get one of these. They're going really quick right now. Very proud of it. A lot of hard work went into it, and I think it'll be very beneficial for your practice because remember, this is not a technical practice. It doesn't measure whether you draw the gun well or whether you draw the pepper spray or you can use the phone. What it measures is what is your ability to cycle through different events and to recognize them as quickly as we can. Outside of force on force or dealing with violent criminal actors on a daily basis, you just won't find a better way at home to practice this. This is a very powerful thing, and I hope you guys will take the time and invest in it. Guys, a quick note, these practices can be done at home. Of course, we're thinking about that now, but also they can be done at the range in live practice also. So there's an actual shooting content with this that you want to get practice on at the range. So that's something for you guys to think about. Please read the description about the video. It'll tell you that everything that's in it, all the contents, that flashlight, inert pepper spray, phone to dial 911, everything's in there, and it'll be in the description. It'll also tell you how much the kit cost and then the place to order it from. So now it gives you the information if you want to go get the kit, how to set it up, and where you'll be able to find it. And I think this will be a great addition to your practice you're going to get a lot of value out of this. You could also use something like a SIRT pistol, so if you have a SIRT pistol at home, this would be a great drill. We do a failure to neutralize to the body, one to the head shooting sequence in it, so you could definitely do it with something like this. So there's a lot of ways to use this for practice. It can be at home, it can be at the range, it can be done anywhere that you're able to shoot. We are the Complete Combatant. You can find us at thecompletecombatant.com. It's under Image Based Decisional Drills. Shelley Hill is the one that came up with this concept, and I helped her with the information, and I'm going to be spokesperson on some of the training aspects of it. Our company really does a lot of force on force. We do a lot of shooting, martial arts, but we really focus on how to put these things together with real people, and what you're getting is the distillation of that experience. So thanks for tuning in. Everybody be safe out there, and make sure that you're training in a responsible way that allows you to make good decisions in your time of need. Thanks.